I am merely telling you this because I want you to have this information, not really to get the upper hand, but to understand this person and just where they're weak. You have to understand that this is a survival game for this person. If you don't understand how this game is played, then when they do things and say things that just trigger you and get under your skin or abuse you or manipulate you or gaslight you, all of those things are going to actually work because you don't know what's happening. When we understand what our weaknesses are, when we understand where our wounds are and why we operate the way we do, or when we start to take responsibility for how we feel, our insecurity, our wounds, our fears, our jealousies, our low self-esteem, when you start to own that, you don't put that on anyone else. And this person is not able to do any of those things. They don't understand why they are the way they are, and they don't understand that they're looking constantly outside of themselves in order for them to feel good. What you're basically dealing with is a 2-year-old. They have little to absolutely no self-esteem. Now, everyone needs self-esteem. We all do. And if we don't know how to create that inside of ourselves, then we are going to need it from outside of ourselves. The problem with needing it from the outside is that no one outside is ever going to be able to give you everything that you need consistently for the rest of your life. That means you're always going to feel disappointed when people don't show up for you or give you the things that you really need. The other problem is most people don't even understand the things that they really need in order for them to feel good inside, to fill themselves up. The problem also with being the person in charge of how this person feels is that you're responsible now for boosting up this person, soothing all of their insecurities, dealing with their fears, making sure that you quickly respond to all of their tantrums. And it's a crapshoot. You are basically throwing something against the wall to see if it sticks when you're dealing with someone that needs constant validation, soothing, boosting themselves up, dealing with their tantrums. They also can never have anyone actually hold them accountable. When you're dealing with a 2-year-old, you don't hold a 2-year-old accountable because you know that they're incapable. Incapable of soothing themselves, they're incapable of boosting themselves up, they're incapable of seeing the situation logically, they don't care. They're gonna throw a tantrum when they're not getting what they want. They're gonna become so incredibly emotional and almost erratic when something doesn't happen the way they want it to. This is really the same type of person that you're dealing with. Because of this intense fear of rejection, abandonment that this person has, they will become very reactive when you don't give them what it is that they need. This reaction that they have to you not soothing them, dealing with a tantrum, overlooking things, all of that, when they don't get what it is that they want, they're going to be very reactive. It's going to be a swift reaction to how you're making them feel. You have to really understand that this person relies heavily on everything outside of themselves to line up in a certain way so they can feel good inside. That is a lot of responsibility put on all of these things outside of themselves, right? Their friends, their family, their job, all of these things. Everything has to constantly be perfect in order for me to feel okay. So when you rely really heavily on these types of things and then you start to not get them, it causes this person to go into fight or flight. And that's where this reaction is. You can call it backlash, you can call it whatever you want, you can call it the abusive behavior that they give, all of those things. That is just a reaction from them not getting what they want, and from them not getting what they want is basically triggering that kind of like rejection and abandonment because they need these things. And if they're not getting them, then it's going to trigger that like, I'm not enough, you're going to leave, you are my life source. When you go into fight or flight, and we've all probably been there, if you've ever had an anxiety attack or a panic attack, for sure you have been there, you understand that there is no logic at that point. There's no being able to like reason with yourself and talk yourself off the ledge. You're not thinking about anything else other than yourself. And whatever it is that you need to feel better than what you feel right now. The weakness is that they rely very heavily on things outside of themselves in order for them to feel good, which makes them extremely vulnerable. And of course, they're not going to share any of this with you. And of course, a lot of times you don't even know that this is actually what's happening and that this person is coming from a very vulnerable state. So all you're going to get is their reaction, their backlash, because they're in fight or flight, because they're not getting what they want. And then you, because you're getting this backlash and you're getting this person in fight or flight, you freeze or you become reactive as well. Maybe you become more appeasing. Maybe you start to calm this person down. Maybe you give them what it is that they initially wanted from you because they've basically bullied you enough into it. So now you're dealing with a person that has no self-esteem or very little that they can actually create on their own, that they constantly need validation outside of themselves. All of these things mean that this person is going to live in, because remember, this is a survival game. This is life is a game, right? So I'm constantly comparing myself to other people. Since that insecurity runs so deep and this is all a game, and they're comparing themselves to other people and what it is that they have, you have to be very careful when you're around this type of person, because every accomplishment or thing that you have is kind of like a landmine. And if you touch it, it might explode. You might be dealing with someone who wants to very much see you suffer because you have some of the things that they want. You might be around a person that takes pleasure when something doesn't go your way, or possibly just be completely verbally abusive and try to attack you and cut you because you threaten them in some way. They do see you as a threat, and a lot of people don't really see that. They might say it like, oh yeah, this person's jealous of me, or oh, this person's just not happy, but they understand this information. But when it comes time for them to respond to this person or deal with this person in some way, they don't see this and they become very reactive. When you're insecure and you don't know how to fill yourself up, you don't really take criticism too well. You look at it as someone is starting to pick you apart, and this kind of triggers that rejection, fear of abandonment thing that they have inside of them. If someone's starting to criticize or pick you apart or tell you that you did something wrong, you're going to make excuses, you're going to get defensive. So you're either going to try to like just push that under the rug a little bit and just ignore it. Maybe you're going to make excuses for it. You're not going to really ever own it, or you might get very defensive and become very reactive, where you start attacking the person that is criticizing you, or basically just telling you what they think and how they feel. The criticism or any kind of opinion that you have on something that they did, it triggers that self-image that they want to have of themselves, that they're actually perfect. They will never be able to self-reflect and say, you know what, maybe I actually can do this a little bit better. You know what, maybe she's right. Maybe if I just like look at it from her perspective, I can understand why she feels the way she feels. Maybe she is right. Maybe I am a little self-centered. Maybe I am thinking about myself. Those inner conversations are never, ever going to happen, because this person has no empathy. They have no ability to put themselves in your shoes. They have no ability to self-reflect. Like, you are truly, truly emotionally and mentally dealing with a child. If I fear rejection, if I have a really significant abandonment wound where I have abandoned myself, where I don't enjoy vulnerability, because vulnerability means that I am going to let you in. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to let you see me, flaws and all, and that builds emotional intimacy. None of those things are happening. So if those things are happening, then they're not going to be able to connect with you in an emotional way. And it's not that there's anything wrong with you, and it's not that you're not good enough. It's that they don't know how to do these things. Relationships are surface level because all they're really looking for is to get something from this relationship. I'm looking for this person to make me feel this way. I need to boost myself up. I need to get validation here. It is just a take relationship. They're going to struggle having emotional intimacy. They're going to struggle connecting, because in order for you to actually connect and do all of these things, you have to have empathy. You have to be okay with the notion that, yes, I could get rejected. Yeah, that yes, there could possibly be abandonment that happens. You have to be vulnerable in relationships. You have to be vulnerable to say that I messed up. You have to be vulnerable to say, these are the things that I've gone through. This is how I felt. These were my weaknesses. This is where I struggle here. You have to let someone in those ways in order to be able to see you. They can't do this because that level of vulnerability is something that makes them so incredibly uncomfortable, because they really truly believe that if you really see them at a soul level, that you're going to leave. I mean, really at the end of the day, that's what abandonment is that I fear that you are going to leave me. Now, someone who is not narcissistic, who doesn't have that brick wall up, still may come from abandonment issues, still may have those same types of wounds, but they don't fear those wounds so badly that they operate in those ways. They're still willing on some level to let someone in, But now, of course, the problem is if you're too wounded and too codependent, then you want someone to come in to really save you in the same ways that a narcissist does, except for the codependent knows that they're looking to be saved, whereas a narcissist just doesn't. The point of this is for you to understand that this person is a human being, even though sometimes people will say this person is just not even human because they have an inability to have empathy or put themselves in someone else's shoes. And so if they can't do that, then their humanness isn't there, because that's really what makes us human, is our level of empathy that we have for each other. But there is love and empathy inside all of us, but when you're dealing with a personality disorder, you're dealing with someone who that's gone. It's almost like the most severe episode of PTSD where it's completely blocked. It's, you know, in this little briefcase with it, and it's shut and it's surrounded by cement. Like, you're never ever going to be able to cut through to all of that, to break open that heart, to get this person to really start being human in those ways. The first thing that would absolutely, I mean, it needs to happen before anything else, is this person has to be able to acknowledge all of this. They have to be able to acknowledge that they're flawed, that they're wounded, that they have issues, that they came from this background, that they are the way they are, that they just can't do that. And because of that, you're never going to have emotional intimacy. You're never going to have a deep connection. You are going to see backlash. You are going to see this person making you responsible for why they feel the way they do. You're never going to be able to have like a really healthy give and take relationship. It just doesn't work that way. So that's why when you're in any kind of a relationship with this person, it's going to be a struggle. Don't get me wrong, you may have times where things are running smoothly, but it's always going to resort back to those real fundamental things that are lacking in this relationship, or that you need from this person that they're just not able to give. And that's why trying to get this person to be the person that you want them to be, which is just a normal, healthy person that can have a relationship with, is just not possible. Now it becomes a matter of you accepting this person for who they are, and learning, if you have to have a relationship in some way, learning how to adjust your expectations of who you want this person to be. So we gotta lower the bar a little bit. Now that doesn't mean lower the bar and keep this person in your life. It means lower the bar in terms of what this person is actually capable of doing. In some relationships, you can really do that. You can understand that this coworker is never going to be able to do blank. It's very hard in real significant relationships in our lives, you know, siblings, mother, father, intimate partner, for us to really lower the bar in that way. It's pretty much almost impossible. And sometimes this is where we just have to go no contact. It protects us from feeling disappointed. It protects us from the abuse. It protects us from this person thinking that they can get what they want from us, whether it's negative attention or positive attention. You don't want the responsibility of being in charge of this person and how they feel. Someone else can be responsible for that. And the person that becomes responsible for that is unfortunately the person that has absolutely no idea what's actually going on. So when you're dealing with new supply issues, or, you know, my father loves my sister more than me, let that relationship be what it is. That victim has no idea the cycle that they're in, and they may never know. Maybe someday they will. Maybe someday they'll kind of awaken to this information and like know what you know and like really get it. And some people really just never will. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please share this with anyone who you think really needs to know this information. In my opinion, everyone does. But I hope you guys enjoyed your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.